We have football tonight, guys, and then a weekend full of ACC and Big 12 football. It's almost here. The work week's almost over, so glad you tuned in with the Bluebloods to get you ready for it. We only got 2 segments today, but we're going to kick it off with an OG segment, Pick 6, and in case you're new or weren't with us over a year ago, it's just where we preview 6 of the biggest games of the upcoming weekend, and then we're going to wrap it up, our preview of the Big 12, and give our official predictions for the upcoming 2020 season. Only 2 segments, like I said, but we have a loaded, full, probably ridiculously long show again, so let's go ahead and kick this off. Like I said, Pick 6 is officially back. We have some big Power 5 games this weekend. The ACC and Big 12 return. We'll probably get some answers to some of the biggest all-season questions that we've talked about for months now. Brandon, let's not waste any more time here. Let's go ahead and start with a big-ish matchup on Thursday night down in South Beach. We got UAB at Miami. Last time I looked, Miami was a 14-point favorite. And Brandon, what are your thoughts here?
Look, we all saw how UAB played last weekend, or last Thursday, rather. I mean, a week ago against Central Arkansas. I mean, they edged them out. The game was not very close in the beginning, but I mean, toward the end there, I mean, it looked like they started to give up a little bit. They let off the gas. Whatever you like to say, I mean, they ended up winning by, like 10? It wasn't like they convincingly won that game. And now they have to play a Power 5 opponent in Miami. And, we talked about Miami last week. We talked about how this team isn't going to be the same without Rousseau. They're not going to be the same, we don't know if Derek King is what he's going to be this year. I mean, we haven't seen him play in about a year now. So we don't know exactly what Miami is, but we do know what UAB is. And to me, I can't see this UAB team even competing against Miami. At least you would hope not. Now I say that, and then I think back to last year where we got the Miami. That was just a wild card. Either they showed up against Florida or they just like laid an egg, like most of the rest of their season. So if I had to guess here, I would say Miami wins this one and that they're close to covering the spread if they don't. But I mean, like I said, we just don't ever know with this Miami team.
It's just a bunch of inconsistencies, right? I mean,
right.
Like you said, I mean, they almost beat Florida, who went to a New Year's Six bowl and beat the second place ACC team in Virginia pretty handily. And then you also had the Miami team that lost to Louisiana Tech in their bowl game. I mean, yes, it was a home game for Louisiana Tech, but I don't think Miami should be losing to Louisiana Tech. I would say ever. But, like you said, the biggest storyline here is Derek King. It's his debut for the U. Can he bring the U back? Second-rate quarterback 2 years ago, only behind Kyler Murray. I think he's a really, really great playmaker, one of the more explosive quarterbacks in the entire country. And then we also have the debut of Quincy Roche, and I think that might even be a bigger debut than even Derek King because of Rousseau's opt-out. He ranks second to only Chase Young in true pass rush grade by Pro Football Focus last season. Brandon, what he brings is experience, leadership, and some maturity where we saw a Miami defense that lacked all those qualities at times last season.
Right.
And then I don't think you mentioned it today, but you've brought it up in the past, is who replaces DJ Dallas? He was an intricate part of trying to keep this offense afloat last year. Well, Cameron Harris steps in, and some experts have tagged him as a potential first-round pick, Brandon. I don't see that, but he does bring he's probably a bit more talented than even Dallas was. And they also have a 4-star Jalen Knighton that comes in. He was clocked at a 4.4, Brandon, and he had over 3,500 yards rushing and 47 touchdowns in his 2 years of high school football.
Right.
So it brings a lot of stuff to the table. Do I think UAB can pull the upset? No. I mean, I expect them to rely on Spencer Brown a lot. He's UAB's career-leading rusher already with over 3,200 rushing yards. Last week, he had over 120 yards rushing. Tyler Johnston is going to be the biggest factor for UAB, though, Brandon. I mean, he's okay, but he's not very consistent. Only 143 yards passing, and he had an interception with only 2 touchdowns. That's not great against a team like Central Arkansas, and I think we can all agree here. This Miami defense is light years better than what Central Arkansas was throwing at this kid. And I just think Miami's too deep, and I think they're going to play really hard for Manny Diaz. De'Aaron King's going to come out with a mission. You know, Brandon, you started the trend last week. We used to not do scores, but now we're doing scores. So I came prepared this time. I have Miami 42-17 over UAB tonight.
I think it's a little bit closer than that. What you said, the spread is 13. So I'm going to go with this is tough. Let's go Miami 31, UAB 17. Let's go 14 points.
Oh, you actually think it's going to be 14 points?
I think that this Miami team's pretty inconsistent, as is this UAB team. So we don't really know what we're going to get out of these two programs. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with a remotely close game.
I like the limb you went out on there, but guys, second game that we're going to cover here, Syracuse at number 18, North Carolina, and North Carolina is a 22.5 point favorite. That's pretty big margin. I can't believe UNC is a bigger favorite over Syracuse than Miami is against UAB, but that's fine. But Brandon, I'll start here. The GOAT returns, Sam Howell. He's here to terrorize the ACC. And Syracuse looks to rebound from an extremely disappointing season. And I'm just playing. Sam Howell's not the GOAT. We'll talk about the GOAT, 2 games later. But, you know, I don't know if this game's going to be a 22.5 point game. I don't want to spoil my pick, but Syracuse's secondary, Brandon, ranks top 20 in the country.
Do they really?
Yes, they're 20th.
That makes no sense. Cue up the NBA young boy, because that makes no sense.
Okay. I mean, and, you know, I have a matchup to watch here. I think Sam Howell and Daz Newsome, wide receiver for UNC, against Melifonwu and Andre Cisco and those DBs for Syracuse, that's going to be a ridiculous matchup. I mean, it's one of the best secondary units in the ACC against, I would argue, the second best passing attack in the ACC. And, Brandon, the questions with this matchup are, can Howell avoid turnovers? But then on the flip side, can Syracuse make Howell uncomfortable? Brandon, in a clean pocket, Sam Howell is 5th in the country in quarterback ranking. When he has pressure in his face, that falls to 95th in the country.
Yeah.
So the
well under pressure. He
has to get better at that. And I mean, I'm not saying he's perfect. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has his issues too. Every quarterback has issues.
Don't give me that. Don't compare him to Trevor Lawrence.
I didn't say I didn't compare it to Trevor Lawrence. I'm just saying, like, everyone has a weakness. That's fine. But I don't think the Syracuse team has the pass rush to make him feel uncomfortable. And Brandon, you know how bad this offense is for Syracuse, right? I mean, this offense is garbage. And that might be like an understatement. Yeah. 111th in the country.
Not great.
It's not great. And I mean, DeVito, I also don't like him very much. I mean, personally, that's the quarterback for Syracuse. I mean, Brandon, he ranked 122nd in the country in terms of QBR last year.
Right. Zach said on a personal level, I've spoken with him a few times. We're not the greatest of friends.
I will say this is beef, but yeah, Brandon, I don't even think I really, as good as that Syracuse secondary might be. I mean, I don't think there's a matchup anywhere else on the field that Syracuse even comes close.
No, absolutely not.
Oh man, but if I had to give a pick, a 22.5 point spread, that's a lot for week 1, especially with the COVID season. But I think UNC has too much firepower. I think that defense is going to score because I think DeVito's that bad. I mean, Brandon, you watched some Syracuse games last year. That offense is garbage. I don't think it's going to be a super, super big blow. I think UNC pulls away late, but I got 35-7 UNC.
35-7. So you are giving them the spread. I mean,
yeah.
You really built it up like you weren't going to.
I know I built it up, but like I think it's going to be closer during the game. I think the fourth quarter is going to get away from Syracuse.
Zach's trying to build up some suspense. I'm going to go with North Carolina. So pick six records only count whether you win or lose. So I'm going to go with North Carolina 3, Syracuse 2. No, my real pick here. My real pick. I'm going to go with let's go with UNC 44, Syracuse 10.
Ooh, that's a route right there. But speaking of a potential route here, we have for our third game Duke at number 10 Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 20-point favorite. Man, Brandon, I think this game is actually going to be more fun than people think. But what are your thoughts here?
Look, I want it to be fun. I really do, but it's not going to be. Duke is going to be awful this year, in my opinion. I mean, everyone heard my prediction for the season. I don't think this game's going to be like anywhere close. Like this game won't even be in the same. Like they're going to be playing two totally different games this weekend. I think Notre Dame kills them, and I don't understand how you think it's going to be a fun game at all.
I mean, okay, so not really like fun, but I'm just saying I think there's going to be a unique challenge.
Fun for who? For
okay, so maybe, but I'm talking about the matchup. I mean, we talked about Notre Dame's number 1 offensive line in the country. I mean, they have the deepest O-line in the country. I mean, but then also we have Chris Rumpf for Duke, who ranked number 1 in the country in win rate and pressure rate last season. So we get to see arguably one of the best defensive linemen in the ACC against the best offensive line. And that's what I'm talking about. I think there's good positional matchups. And we also get to see two quarterbacks who come in with expectations where they do have some doubters. I mean, Ian Book and Chase Bryce I guess you can't really compare them, but they both have very, very big expectations going into the year at their respective schools. I mean, Book, he's got to put it all together, right, Brandon? I mean, every year there's somebody out there who's like, he could be a Heisman contender. He could be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But then, like, he doesn't play like that every week.
Right. No, he doesn't.
And, you know, he was the 45th best quarterback last year, according to Pro Football Focus, Brandon. I think in your head and in most of our listeners' head, you wouldn't expect that, would you? You would expect this kid to be in the top 20.
I would think so, yeah.
His deep ball accuracy is not great. He struggles to test the defense over the middle. I think he has all the intangibles. He can get out of the pocket. He can be reliable under pressure, but it's just there's little things that he just always seems to slip up on, and that's why Notre Dame loses the game that they're not supposed to every year. And it's kind of now or never for Book. I mean, you got to put it together eventually, and there's no better year than this. And you look at the flip side, Bryce steps into the spotlight after he transfers from Clemson. He's been in Trevor Lawrence's shadow, and he's handed the keys to this Duke offense, and he brings a lot of knowledge, and he's had some game experience where he's shown he can win games he's not supposed to. I mean, Brandon, you step in for Trevor Lawrence, who has the world like in his hands. He gets hurt early. You have to go out and beat a Syracuse team that was dominating Clemson at that time.
Right.
And he goes out and wins that game. Yes, he doesn't have Travis Etienne to help him anymore, but you know, I think he's a big upgrade. I mean, can you name a Duke quarterback, maybe other than Daniel Jones, that's really better than Bryce in the past 10 years?
No, probably not. I mean, not even close.
I'll say it's not even a conversation, but like, you know, I'm sure you agree. Notre Dame's defense is too good. We've talked about Kyle Hamilton. We've talked about this Notre Dame defense. They're too good for Bryce. The Blue Devils offense, I don't think is very good outside of him. And if there's an O-line that can neutralize Rumpf, it's Notre Dame. Brad, I have it a little bit closer than you might think. I have Notre Dame 34, Duke 17.
Yeah, that's still not close. What was the spread on this one again?
20.
Well, I mean, I guess they're covering. I'm going to go Notre Dame 35, Duke 7.
35-7. God.
I mean, they're playing Duke. It's not basketball, Zach.
That's true. Zion Williamson's coming off the edge, but we're going to move on to another game. We have Georgia Tech at Florida State. Florida State is only a 12.5-point favorite, Brandon. This
Which is bananas, by the way.
And this game's in Florida State. I don't know. Brandon, you had Georgia Tech finishing 14th. I had them finishing 15th with no wins. How is FSU only a 12.5-point favorite?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I guess because Florida State's also bad, but they're not Georgia Tech bad. There's levels to this.
Okay, the big question is, does Georgia Tech score on this ridiculous FSU defense?
No. No way. Well, if they were still running the triple option, they might, but they quit that for some reason.
Listen, if they still have the triple option, Georgia Tech for the upset, but they do not run that offense.
They do not.
So I don't think I just think so. Brandon, correct me if you don't think the same way, but I feel like this spread's more of an indictment on that offense has so many question marks. Who replaces Cam Akers? Do you really believe in Justin Blackman? Is that offensive line any better than it was last year? I mean, yes, you get Mike Norval, but we've already seen how he's doing down there. I mean, I think you could say he's lost the team's respect already in some regards. I mean, do you think it's a concern about that, or do you think it could be something else?
I don't know. It's got to be the offense, right? I don't know. It might be a combination of those things, but I don't think Justin Blackman's the guy. Do you? And
I mean, y'all heard what I thought about Justin Blackman.
And the spreads aren't just set by some random guy; they're set by who's betting on what. And I think a lot of people in this country think the same way we do. If you actually pay attention to college football enough to bet on Georgia Tech, Florida State, then you probably know that Justin Blackman's a bum.
You would hope so, right?
Yeah.
Well, even though I feel like there's a lot of people who bet, I guess they make a lot worse bets than this. I mean, let's just be. There was somebody who bet on the Wizards to make the finals this year.
Facts.
I mean, but Brandon, this offensive line is absolutely horrendous for Georgia Tech, and you have to go up against Marvin Wilson Jr. and this ridiculous front seven for Florida State, and you have a bunch of, I guess, triple option type or scheme players, and you expect them to play in a throwing typical pro style offense against arguably one of the best defenses in the ACC. I think this could spell absolute disaster for Georgia Tech this weekend.
Yeah, I do too. And it's I don't know, man. I feel bad for Georgia Tech almost.
You knew Georgia Tech wasn't getting a home game against an easy team. And for Georgia Tech, I don't think there was an easy game choice. I mean, who do you put them up against where you feel confident that they're going to be the favorite?
Fair enough.
I mean, but Brandon, enough about this game. No, everyone kind of knows where we're going here. I have Florida State 23-3.
23-3, that's good. 20 points is a nice. I don't think it's going to be. I've been pitching blowouts for the entirety of this episode, so I'm going to chill out on that boat for a little while. I think it's Florida State 14, Georgia Tech nothing.
Wow. Yeah, man. Okay. You had me a little speechless there for a second. I
don't know why. I mean, it's like the same amount of points between you and I. It's just Georgia Tech won't score.
I don't know if they're not going to score. All right, fair enough. But let's talk about a game that's probably going to be the biggest upset of the weekend. We have number 1 Clemson at Wake Forest, and Clemson is a 33-point favorite here. Yeah. And this is where game day is going to be. So, Brandon, tell me why Wake Forest wins this game.
Well, because they lost Jamie Newman. No, come on. Clemson's going to run this score up so hard. Dabo Swinney has been spending all offseason, all of the pandemic, just making up more reasons to be mad about how he's disrespected and how even though he was ranked number 1 in the AP preseason poll, he has been blocking his players out with propaganda. He has them listed as like 17 in the AP poll and a fake AP poll he drew up, and so his players are pissed off and they're coming for somebody's throat.
I mean, it's going to be a blowout, right? I mean, I don't think this Wake Forest defense offers anything. I mean, is there I don't even think there's a single player that like gives me any hope. It's not like Chris Rumpf is on the other side where it's like, okay, like Duke has that one player who could have a good game. Like there's a lot of inexperience. There's a lot of unproven, underrated players on that Wake Forest defense, but I really don't know what to say. I mean, do you trust Sam Hartman to tear up this Clemson defense?
No. In short, no.
I mean, okay, so let me say this. We've talked about Clemson's defensive line here. If you had to set the line over under, how many sacks would you set the line as?
Oh, man, that's so tough. 9.
9 sacks. Everyone gets one. It's just it's just a rotating door.
No, if I had to give you a real number, I'd go. Let's say 6.5.
I think that's a good number. I mean, this defensive line is ridiculous, and I think Travis Etienne is going to have a big game. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a big. I literally think if you have a Paul on your helmet, you're going to have a big game. I mean, and especially because I guess Wake Forest doesn't really have a home field advantage anyway. But in an empty stadium, where's the energy going to come from?
Right.
It's going to be rough. I mean, when Clemson's up 31-0, I mean, who are you going to turn to get the sideline fired up?
Right. No, that's a good point.
No, nowhere. I have Clemson big. I have Clemson 55-10, and
that's
honestly, I was about to say that is a conservative prediction. It could be 63-0.
Those 10 points come from the second half when Dabo decides he wants to put Trevor Lawrence on the bench for the rest of the game.
Exactly. Those 10 points come in the last 6 minutes. Write it down. Bet it.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go. I don't think they run it up that much. I'm gonna go with 42-3.
Oh, they get a field goal.
Yeah,
a good, nice field goal. But all right, so we got one more game here, guys. We have Tulane at South Alabama. 8-point favorite.
We are
for
just
the
a South
Waves.
Alabama podcast now.
Hey, after they destroyed the good old Southern Miss Golden Eagles, we are putting South Alabama here until the SEC starts. So get ready for one more week of South Alabama next week. But Brandon, who do you have in this highly, highly, I guess, riveting primetime matchup down in Mobile, Alabama?
Tulane, and look. I said this last week about Southern Miss. So I was about to say it's not going to be close, but I'll watch my tongue here. I feel like I've disrespected South Alabama, and also I'd like to apologize to anybody who may be a fan of the University of South Alabama. I feel like I may have I don't know, made a few folks pretty angry over my pick last week. So I'm just going to do it again. I'm going to double down because I don't ever back down. It's just who I am. So I'm going with Tulane. They're going to win in this new stadium, and South Alabama honestly might not get a win in the new stadium this year.
Oh, Brandon, you couldn't be more wrong. I'm going with the South Alabama Jaguars in this matchup. I am.
Yeah, you're
Listen, Tulane lost so much on offense, man. Brandon, they rank 88th in the country on offense. They rank 107th in receiving. And listen, the biggest thing, South Alabama got a week to get that confidence up, man. They are riding as high as possible after knocking off Southern Miss. I mean, and listen, okay, that might have been a bad word. I'm gonna say christening, but that's not what it is. Like breaking in a new stadium or like.
I mean, christening's pretty good. I mean, you christen a boat like a ship.
Oh, okay, we're gonna christen. What is it, Whitney Hancock Field or Stadium, or something like that. I have the South Alabama Jaguars pulling this out. I was really, really impressed last week, Brandon. I mean, I know that sounds like outrageous, but I mean, how did you watch last week and not be at least a little bit impressed?
No, look, I was impressed, but they were also playing Southern Miss. I had to go with Southern Miss because, I mean, everyone knows why. I went there very briefly. Most of my family went there. I had to pull a couple cards out, but South Alabama, I mean, they didn't play a quality team in Southern Mississippi last week.
And listen, it was such a bad loss. Southern Miss fired its coach this week, guys.
They should have fired him a long time ago. That's a whole different conversation. But he tried to hire Art Briles a few years, like a year ago, 2 years ago. So that should have been probably not a great look,
But listen, Desmond Trotter, you have won me over. Desmond Trotter wins this game. I think South Alabama's defense makes enough stops. I think the inexperience on Tulane's offense plays a huge, huge role in this loss. I had the South Alabama Jaguars pulling off the upset 24-21 Saturday night down there in Mobile, Alabama.
Okay, well, good for you. Okay. I'm going to go with Tulane winning, and I think that it's a pretty close game. I'll say 21-17.
That's not bad. Okay, I'll take that. I thought you were going to say Tulane by 30.
No, I think they're a more quality team.
I don't know. I mean, hey, as the opinion. As the leader in the Pick Six standings right now, I disagree, and we're going to extend that lead just a little bit this week with this pick.
Okay, I want to address this because I don't think you're winning Pick Six. I think Zach has full monopoly of the social media accounts, and so he has slandered my good name by adding the BYU Navy game into Pick Six. That was not Pick Six. Roll the tapes back. Everyone knows it. You're cheating. I mean, I get it.
But we picked the game on the podcast. We picked the game on the podcast, so it has to go into the records.
I get it. You can't win any other way. We pick a lot of games. We have gambling picks. We have we have all kind of stuff. You mentioned other games, and we talk about who might win. I mean, hell, we're about to pick the Big-12. Are all of our standings going to count for our Pick Six, Zach? Whenever we talk about records here.
Listen, we did that. I picked LSU to go to the playoffs and win the SEC. Where did you have LSU?
We know where I had LSU.
I was more confident in your own favorite team than you were.
Okay, well, if I came out here saying, "Oh yeah, they're gonna win," then how do I look, Zach? I look cocky. I look like I'm just biased. You want me to do that, Zach? Is that how you like this podcast to go from now on?
I mean, hey, it is what it is. But listen, guys, we're gonna move on here. I'm dead. You said I have a full monopoly over the social media accounts.
You do.
That's true. That's true. But guys, we're gonna move on to our last and second segment of the day. Power 5 football returns. I can't believe I'm saying that still. And it's time to make the Bluebloods official predictions for each conference. We're moving to the Big-12. Check out last episode and our social media account to see who we pick for the ACC. And listen, Brandon and I grouped these teams together into tiers to make this go more smoothly. We're going to start with the bottom feeders tier. Brandon, I hope you put numbers by these so you don't confuse our listeners again.
You're actually going to be very proud of me. I actually have records this time. Am I still writing them down? Was I writing them down during the entire last segment? Yeah. But I have records, and I'm ready to go, Zach.
Okay. I have records. I didn't put them in my notes, but I'll pull up my other document then with records because, I didn't think I thought you were going to be slacking, but Brandon, we'll try to keep the snake in order. We only have 10 teams this time, so 15 was a lot last episode. But Brandon, who is your number 10 last place team in the Big-12?
For my number 10 team in the Big-12, and this is going to come as a shock to no one, I have Kansas. And you want to know why I have Kansas, Zach?
Because they're might be the other than I guess Rutgers isn't playing. They might be the worst team in the entire Power 5 this year.
Zach, I have Kansas here because I don't know if they win a football game this season, and if they do, it's going to be the first week of the season. It's going to be Saturday against Coastal Carolina. I have them going 1-9 this season, Zach.
Oh God! I think they're only like a 3.5 point favorite over Coastal Carolina this weekend.
And I don't know if they should be. That's the thing. I don't know.
Well, they went on what, 5-year losing streak.
Yeah.
So for I guess any games, or I don't remember exactly, but I know it was like a road games or something like that. But yeah, this team, Brandon, yeah, they're a 7-point favorite over Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
And the FPI gives Coastal Carolina a 54% chance of winning.
That's crazy.
That's wild. But Brandon, you know, I think you'll like this. In my notes, I said Kansas is probably like a million pieces away from competing for the Big 12.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, Brandon, you're gonna laugh. So, like, I was reading like this preview magazine from Pro Football Focus, and they listed strengths and weaknesses for each team. And for strengths for Kansas, it just said Puka, like Puka Williams. That was the only strength they listed. And for their weakness, I swore, like when I read Puka, I was like, they're going to put everything else. And their biggest weakness, all it says is that defense. ... Yikes.
That's nuts.
That's how bad this Kansas team is, guys. I mean, Pro Football Focus couldn't even like find anything as a strength except one player who's a running back.
Yeah, that's nuts.
It's bad, guys. I mean, so yes, Kansas is last for us. They rank what 127th in terms of total defense. Their offensive line is 105th in the country. The fact that Puka Williams even gains a single yard in a game blows my mind.
It's crazy. I mean, there's no offensive line to be heard of.
Yeah, Les Miles should have stayed retired. I mean, this team is garbage, but I mean, there's really nothing to break down. Puka Williams must watch. Everybody else on this team, absolutely do not watch. It's literally that simple.
I am begging you, please do not watch.
I mean, the fact that this team almost beat Texas last year is just more evidence that Texas should not be a top 10 team.
Right.
They scored 43 points on Texas, Brandon.
I mean, that shouldn't be allowed.
Oh, that's terrible. That is just garbage. But Brandon, let's go ahead and move to number 9 here. I mean, I hope we have the same. I guess 8 and 9 for me were like interchangeable, but I have West Virginia as.
I actually don't, but they're coming, Zach. I promise.
Okay, so I feel like my 8 team's your 9 team. It's like flip flop, but 9 is West Virginia. I mean, I think it's a team that, Brandon, I mean, I think you can agree with this. I think it's a team that's going to be 2-3 years away from really competing again. And I think they're more talented than the 9th position, but looking at their schedule and the way that I think this is the most competitive this conference has been in some time, I think it drags them way, way down. Yeah. And I mean, the defense is going to do a lot of the work early. The offense is, can I just say garbage? I mean, they're the number 25 defense in the country, but their offense is outside the top 80. And, you know, the quarterback situation is not great. And for, I think it's Jared Doji is how you say it. I thought it was Dodge at first, but it's an E. But has no weapons, Brandon. Their rushing attack, 117th in the country, and their wide receiving core ranks 110th.
That's crazy.
It's garbage. But Tyreek Smith and Sean Mahomes, 2 DBs, are going to be the defensive leaders and lead a pretty talented defense throughout the season. Listen, guys, I know 9th sounds so low, but in a conference with only 10 teams and no divisions, the 9th place team is not as bad as like you would imagine. And I think the Mountaineers make big strides this year, but the Big 12 is just too talented, so they fall here at 9.
Yeah, I get that, Zach. And I'm wondering if you have the same team that I have here coming up next, but I have to put Texas Tech at number 9. I don't see this team winning more than 2 games. The record for me is 2-8 this season. I just don't think there's a way. Now, you know, they may come up and sneak up on us and snag one of these games. Like it seems like they always do. Like I think they played Baylor pretty competitively last year when Baylor was really good. But I don't know. I can't see them doing any better than 2, maybe 3 wins this season.
Yeah, I agree. I have them at 8. And I think it's the same thing that you said. I mean, the defensive side of the ball is going to be terrible. And the offense can put up points with anybody. I mean, Alan Bowman at quarterback really holds the key. I mean, I think this team could jump to the next group. But, I mean, he performs well under pressure. He ranked 28th in the country under pressure, but his explosive play ability ranked 62nd. He has TJ Vasher and I forget, I'm blanking on the kid's name, but his two leading wide receivers are both back. Vasher 6'6", Brandon, and was third in the country in contested go route balls. The defense is a huge problem. Zach McPherson, DeMarcus Fields are both back and prime for breakout seasons, but they're unproven. The back end of that defense was terrible last year and really cost this team some games. And I think they're going to be much improved, a lot like West Virginia. But right now, for an inexperienced and weak at key spots, I think that is going to hold them back. And I think they finished 8th here.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I have West Virginia finishing 8th. Zach said it all in his message. They're not a good football team. We saw them all play last year. I mean, ever since Dana Holgerson left this program, they have not been the same. And it doesn't even look like they're even competing. And especially not in a season where they have to play every opponent in the Big-12. I mean, they have to play Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Baylor, Iowa State. I mean, I just don't see a way that they. Right now, I have their record at 3-7.
Yeah, and I think that's probably top end.
Probably generous. I mean, yeah. I was probably being very kind. And it's not even that I think West Virginia wins those games. I just think that the teams they're playing are worse than them. I think that they might snag one. Who did I have them beating? That wasn't, and I can't even remember. Oh, no, I don't have them beating anybody that's ranked below them. I just have them beating Texas Tech and Kansas, and then whoever they play this weekend. I forgot. Houston Baptist, I think. No, I'm sorry. West Virginia, they're playing Eastern Kentucky. Yeah, so.
They got that one.
Yeah.
I feel like after Marshall put on the domination they had. But guys, we're going to move on here. We have the middle rank. We're calling it the middle of the road. It's teams 5 through 7. And, Brandon, I need to hear it. Who is your number 7 team in the Big 12?
I feel like I don't know if I'm going to catch flack here. I just don't think they're a very good team. I think they're still rebounding from when they've been decent in the past few years. But I've got TCU here at number 7.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have TCU going 4-6 this season. Once again, they're just beating everyone that's ranked below them, except for whoever they played this weekend. I think, are they the ones playing Houston Baptist? Somebody's playing Houston. No, that's Texas Tech. Who's TCU playing? They're playing Tennessee Tech. Yeah, I mean, how do you not win that game? I understand. They won the race for Zachary Evans, which wasn't much of a race. It was more of who's going to stick around for the longest and get this kid who doesn't want to go to school apparently. And they have a couple other really good players. It's just I still see them in a rebuilding phase of sorts, which is weird to say for college football, but I do. And I don't know. I can't see them winning more than these 4 games. I don't even see them stealing a game like I could potentially see West Virginia or Texas Tech doing.
I agree. I also had them at 7. I feel like we're going to agree on most of these picks. Our disagreement's going to come at the top, kind of like it did the ACC. But
mine get a little wild.
Yeah, but I think this is a team with a few future NFL stars. But as a unit, I think they're pretty mediocre. I mean, every single positional unit or every single unit rating other than total defense and secondary are in the 60 to 70 range.
Yeah.
That's not great. Their safeties, elite. Trayvon Morig, Adarius Washington, both safeties are probably 2 of the most talented safeties returning in the entire country. Morig ranked 2nd in the country for DBs and combined pass breakups and interceptions. Washington, Brandon, only allowed 1 first down in pass coverage last year.
That's wild.
Pretty elite. But, man, Max Duggan at quarterback, don't love him here. I mean, he has to make improvements all across the board. He ranked 126th in accurate pass rate and 90th in big-time throw rate. And his sophomore season should be better, but until I see more, I think he's what holds this team back. I think TCU has a lot of talent in certain places, but they don't have enough to hang with the contenders of the Big 12, which is why I think they fall into the middle of the road.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Oh, man. But number 6, I'm probably going to catch flack for this one. I already know it. And it's not even just from like you. It's just from people I know. But I have Kansas State at 6.
Wow. What?
I do.
Yo, you're going to catch flack from me because that's not even close to where I had them.
I mean, I just don't know who you – I mean, I think they could have an argument for 5, but there's no way they're in the top 4. I mean, it's a team that, Brandon, next year, they're going to be in the contender tier. I think next year they could win the Big 12, but right now there's question marks at key positions. Skylar Thompson at quarterback, I really like him. He's one of those quarterbacks that I feel like he's just one step away from making it, and I don't know if he's going to make that step. He was ranked the 34th best quarterback last year by Pro Football Focus, but his accuracy wasn't great. 66th in accuracy pass rate. His value, though, skyrocketed in a clean pocket. He ranked 9th in the country when given a clean pocket, but that offensive line suffers some losses, and I don't know if they can replace him. I don't know if they're going to be ready. I guess those young offensive linemen ready to step up. But I think he's going to have the best supporting cast in his career. Phillip Brooks and Malik Knowles are both back, both explosive wide receivers on the outside. And don't forget about Josh Youngblood. He's going to be wide receiver 3, and he's going to bring huge value on special teams. I don't want to cover it all again. Me and Brayden have talked about that kid I don't know how many times on this podcast. On defense, Wyatt Hubert at defensive end is going to lead a young, inexperienced defense at certain spots into the season through a brutal schedule. Hubert ranked first in the conference last year, Brandon, in pass rush, win rate, and pressure rate. Yeah. That's elite. But Jonathan Alexander and Keandre Thomas have to step up. 2 DBs lost to the, draft. I don't think they got drafted. I think they're on practice squads. They have to step up in the secondary. I'm not sure if they're ready to make that step into contender status. Listen, Kansas State could be a sleeper. Would I be surprised if they finished 3rd or 4th in the Big 12? Not necessarily. But I think that that youth in big spots and that young defense are going to cost them some games. And I think that's why they fall here, because the teams above them have more experience in key spots. But K-State's probably a year away from really competing.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I guess I was more optimistic for K-State here. But at my number 6 spot, I have Iowa State.
Okay. I don't hate that. They're 5 for me. So I'll just build off of you.
Yeah. So Iowa State, I mean, and honestly, it was very close between them and my next team. The reason I didn't have them ranked above the next team is just because of the way the schedule laid out. And as a matter of fact, it was that, and it was even the matchup against the other team. And I think the other team wins that game. But I mean, the schedule is just so tough for Iowa State, Zach. I mean, the 2 games that I think that they could compete in if they were playing in Iowa are Texas and Oklahoma State. I think that they'd at least be in that game. But since they have to travel to Austin and I'm blank, Stillwater, and they have to travel to Stillwater, I just don't see a way they win either one of those games. And that's just lethal. I think they may drop a game here or there, and they end up. I had their record at 5-5.
I don't mind that. I mean, I had them so I just did conference records. I had Iowa State and Kansas State both at 5-4, but I have Iowa State winning that game because because I believe it's at Iowa State.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason I had them switched. And like you said, I mean, Iowa State's a team I struggled with. When I first started ranking, Brandon, I thought this Iowa State team could be as high as 3. But when I started analyzing schedules, like you said, rosters and just talent returning, I feel like their defense really and truly kind of held them back. I think Brock Purdy, I think he could be the 2nd best quarterback in the Big 12. I like him more than Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah.
But he's got to stop making gunslinger plays. 58th ranked turnover-worthy play rate makes me a little worried. He has weapons like Charlie Kohler, Tariq Milton, Barisi Hall, all come back. I mean, Hall was one of the best freshman running backs, and Kohler was the highest rated tight end by Pro Football Focus last year. But, Brandon, the 109th pass rush is not going to cut it. Yeah. I know Will McDonald, the fourth, is back. He offers some hope, but he can't be the only one. Mike Rose at linebacker, Lawrence White at safety, Greg Eisworth at safety. I think they can make the back end of the defense better, but if you can't get any pressure on the quarterback, you're going to get roasted in this conference. And yes, Rose was the number 1 rated Power 5 linebacker for passing stops, but I don't think he can do it all alone. And if you give the quarterback all day, Rose is going to struggle being put into good positions. I think Iowa State's really, really talented, Brandon. Could be like a 4B team. So like they could be right there, but I think they're just missing that it factor for me. And so I had to keep them in the middle of the road.
Yeah, I get that. So I guess it's my turn to go to number 5.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Yep.
Gosh, man, and this one hurts. And first and foremost, I want to say I'm sorry, Dave Aranda, but it's your first year, so I've got Baylor at number 5. I understand. I understand. He's he's one of the best defensive minds in college football, but he's never been a head coach before. It's his first year at Baylor. Baylor had a 7-6 season before last year when they went 11-3. I don't know. I think that they end up, kind of in the same boat as Iowa State in a sense. I have them beating Iowa State, and that's really the only reason that I have them ranked number 5 here. But I mean, they have to go play at Oklahoma. They have to go play at Texas, and I think that they get Oklahoma State at home. But I mean, come on, it's Oklahoma State. I think that Chuba Hubbard's just too good. Even for this defense. They're probably the best defense in the Big 12, but when we're talking Big 12 football, we're talking, offense is king. And I get it. They can kind of undercut some of these other teams, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to be enough, especially with a first-year head coach who really hasn't even had all that much time with his team due to the pandemic. And so I have Baylor. I've scratched out. I was flip-flopping Iowa State and Baylor so much that I just have their record scratched out. I had Baylor going 6-4 this season.
Wow. Okay. I don't hate that pick. I'm a little bit higher on Baylor, I think. But guys, we're going to get to this. We're going to get to the tier everyone tuned into here. We got the contender tier 1 through 4, the top 4 teams in the Big 12. Brandon, who do you have at 4?
Oh man. I don't I'm going to come off as so biased right here, Zach. It might hurt, but horns down. I've got Texas right here.
I do too.
Which is crazy, right? Because in the only reason, so full disclosure, my number 4 through number 2 all have the same record. I have them all going 8-2, and they just lose to one common team, and they all lose to each other. But Texas, I think, loses to the number 3 team, and I think they beat the number 2 team. So I've got Texas at number 4. I don't know, man. 8-2 is great, and it could win you second place, but not in Texas's case. I think that they just lose the wrong game, and that lands them. And I feel like I'm being so vague right now, but I don't want to give away my future picks.
Wow. I mean, I have Texas going 7-3. I have them losing to the 3 teams ahead of them, actually. I also have Texas at 4, man. I love it. But it seems to be a team that everyone believes in, but I just don't think so. I mean, I think Sam Ehlinger is good, but I don't think he's elite like some experts want to claim. I don't trust him in the biggest situations, Brandon, and he always seems to have a breakdown game where they lose a game they're not supposed to. I mean, you look at last year, that loss to Oklahoma. You could have had that game. Oklahoma was playing terrible early. You could have taken control of that game. Then what about the losses to Iowa State and Baylor last year? Those were winnable games. Right. You didn't make the plays down the stretch. What about 2018, Brandon? How about that loss to Maryland? Did that settle well with you as Sam Ehlinger is an elite quarterback?
Oh no.
How about choking in the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma? That 2018.
Just every other year.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think a lack of weapons this year is going to doom. I've talked about before, 114th in the country, Brandon, in terms of wide receiver production returning. Jake Smith, Brennan Eagles, I don't trust them. I mean, they're not great, but they're going to have to step into huge roles, and they are so unproven. And the defense, man, is mediocre at best. I mean, Jamison, Joseph Asai, Marquez Bymage are all back and could offer some improvements for the Longhorns. And listen, I think the ceiling for this team is the Big 12 championship, as everyone in this tier could make it. But I think inexperience at wide receiver, I think inconsistency in Sam Ehlinger and some other players are going to kill the Longhorns in this championship race. And so I'm a little skeptical, and I have them losing 3 games, and they're going to fall to 4th place in the Big 12.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And I always have one pick that makes everyone go, what are you seeing? Brandon, I have Baylor at 3.
Which is crazy, but I get it.
No, I mean, I don't think it's super. Listen,
it's not
they're my dark.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. I know who you have at 3. At least I hope they're at 3. If they're any higher, we're gonna have a problem because I go to the school and they should not be first or second. But I went back and forth here. I mean, Dave Aranda, I think, is going to take this defense to another level. Brandon, I think the offense is sneaky good. We start with Charlie Brewer. I think he can improve his game from last year. He was the 33rd ranked quarterback in Pro Football Focus. He was 21st under pressure. He just has to stop, I guess, putting the ball in danger. He was 76th in turnover-worthy play rates. I think Brewer has one of the highest ceilings in the Big 12. And new offensive coordinator Larry Fedora, I think, can make a huge impact on Brewer's development.
To the top.
And defense is why I picked Baylor here, Brandon. I mean, Dave Aranda is going to love this unit. You start with William Bradley King at defensive end. He's a transfer from Arkansas State. He has the 3rd best rush rate over the past 2 years in the entire country. And then we've already talked about it, Brandon. Riley Texaca, Kalen Barnes, elite speed, a limited potential on the back end of that defense. And then we've also talked about this guy, Terrell Bernard, arguably the best linebacker in the Big 12, brings ridiculous athleticism and just superb leadership to the middle of that defense. And I think Bernard is the perfect linebacker for Aranda's system. And I think the Bears are going to shock a lot of experts and even other teams in the Big 12. Brandon, I only have them losing 2 games, and I have them beating one of the teams that comes next. And I do. I think they're going to beat one of those teams, and that's going to put them over Texas for me. I think Baylor is a really, really big dark horse in this conference.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't, as you said earlier, it wouldn't surprise me if they did make it here. I just don't think they will. I think they have too much stacked up against them. I think the schedule, I think the first-year head coach, I just think there's so much against them. But to move on to my number 3 team here, Zach, I mean, if you listen to Zach, you know who it is. It's Kansas State. I'm so high on Kansas State. It's insane.
That's wild to me. That is wild to me.
You know what's even more wild is that I have them going 8-2, Zach.
Well, do you have them losing to the next 2 teams?
Yeah. But I have them beating Texas, which is wild.
Wow.
On December 5th, they played Texas. How close were they to beating Texas last year, Zach? They were like a field goal away. It was insane. I mean, they should have won that game.
Yeah, they were up 14-0.
Right. And so, look, I think this is the year they come back for revenge. I don't know why. I don't know why I feel so strongly about Kansas State this year. Obviously, I have them losing to my next 2 teams. I have them losing to Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. They have to play at Oklahoma. They have to play. Actually, I think they get Oklahoma State at home, but I don't think this defense. I don't think their defense holds up against Chuba Hubbard in that attack. And they get Texas for the last game of the season at home, and I think they can pull that game off. I really do. And look. Having Kansas State at number 3 in my preseason rankings for the Big 12 is the riskiest move I think anyone's ever done. You know, so pat me on the back. I feel good about this pick. You're telling me you wouldn't love to see Kansas State have this record?
Oh no, I'm wearing a K-State hoodie as we record. Like I'm cool with it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I think Skylar Thompson has the potential. I'm going to have to see some young players do their thing, man. I don't know if they're going to do it, but let's go ahead and move on to the final two. Everyone knows who they are. Who do you have at 2, Brandon?
I've got Oklahoma State. I have them going 8-2 as well. I have them beating Kansas State, but losing to Texas and losing to Oklahoma. I don't know. I feel like I understand Oklahoma State is so good, and Zach probably has them at number 1. If I had to guess, I haven't seen Zach's rankings yet, but if I had to guess, I'd say that's who he has number 1. The stats and analytics speak as far to put them at number 1. I just don't think that stats and analytics really work for Oklahoma State. I mean, we've seen them be maybe not this good, but we've seen them be, elite in the past. And where has it gotten them? It's Oklahoma State. I mean, they choke in the big moments. That's what they do. And so I can't have them at the top of this conference in the regular season. I just can't.
I'm upset. I have Oklahoma at 2, Oklahoma State number 1.
I called it. Now I feel super smart.
I actually have them tied. I have them both going 9-1.
Okay. I would like to know who you think Oklahoma State loses to.
I think they lose to Baylor week 3.
That's ridiculous. Quit being ridiculous.
I do. Okay, listen. Hang on. I think Baylor's defense matches up terribly. Matches up really, really well with Oklahoma State. I think that secondary has the speed to match Tylan Wallace. I think Dave Aranda is the best schemer for a strong run game. And I think with Terrell Bernard and those other athletic linebackers, they are the worst matchup in the entire conference for Oklahoma State. And it comes early while Sanders is still trying to get that rhythm. The team didn't have a lot of time to prepare for the season, just like everyone else. I think Baylor's defense is a terrible matchup. And I think Oklahoma, the reason I have them beating Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma's defense does not match up well with Chuba Hubbard in that offense. I mean, do you trust a single person on that Oklahoma defense to stop Chuba Hubbard?
No, but I think that Oklahoma's offense is explosive enough in all of them to match Chuba Hubbard.
I think Oklahoma State's defense is good enough to pick apart a true freshman quarterback. We've already talked about the secondary for Oklahoma State. I mean, we've talked about it how many times on the podcast? 3, 4, 5. I mean, you have Colby Harville-Peel. You have Trey Sterling. I mean, you have all these pieces that I think make a bigger difference than a true freshman quarterback.
I don't know. See, you keep saying true freshman quarterback like you haven't like you haven't been at K Jewelers for the past 12 months trying to buy Sam Howell the perfect ring.
Yeah, okay, but until I see Spencer Rattler do what Sam Howell did last year, then I don't want to hear a single person talk about how they even compare.
Zach said that's enough of the slander. That's my wife.
That's a fact. But I think Brandon, could Oklahoma win? Absolutely. But I think Spencer Sanders is going to take a huge jump. And I mean, Brandon, if Spencer Sanders was just a step better, how many games do you think Oklahoma State wins last year that they ended up losing because of him?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
The Baylor game, 1-score game. Spencer Sanders, fumbles at the last second?
Yeah.
And then the Texas A&M game, chokes it away at the end. I mean, and Chuba Hubbard is banged up down the stretch. Tylan Wallace gets hurt. He's out. I mean, I think there's so many things that went wrong for Oklahoma State last year. And, based on what I've been reading, I think it could have went either way. The whole Mike Gundy situation could have just tore this team apart. Right. But based on everything I've been reading, all the players are saying, I think it actually just brought them a little bit closer together. And they're ready to play together. They're ready to just show the country that Oklahoma State is here. And I think when you have the best running back, arguably in college football, you have one of the best wide receivers, you have more experience at quarterback, you have the better defense, I don't know how you could go the other way and say that Oklahoma is a better team than Oklahoma State right now.
I don't know, man. I don't have Oklahoma losing a game this season.
What? Undefeated?
Not a one.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, I mean, I'm crazy,
So, in case you guys, we both have Oklahoma State going to the Big 12 championship, and I have Oklahoma State winning the Big 12 championship. Brandon has Oklahoma winning the Big 12 championship. So either way, if it comes down to us,
Big 12. Hold on now, easy with the assumptions. They're not having a championship game this season.
No, they are. Are you picking Oklahoma State over Oklahoma in the championship game?
Yeah, I don't think Oklahoma can win 2 games against the same team in the season.
Oh no, Oklahoma State for the
full
sweep.
Circle. Oh yeah.
Oh man,
that was what you were assuming way too much, Zach. That hurt.
Okay,
I was building up suspense, and you tore me down. You cut my legs off.
I am sorry. Okay, so both of us have Oklahoma and Oklahoma State going to the championship, and we both have Oklahoma State winning it. I cannot believe we both have Oklahoma State winning the Big 12 here. I am shook right now, guys. Brandon, take over. I don't even go ahead and tell us, other than Oklahoma State's not going to lose 2 games in a row. Why do you have Oklahoma State over Oklahoma in the second game?
Because look, that was okay. I don't really know how to say it any better than the way you just said. I just don't think they can win 2 games in the same season. I mean, I agree with you. I think this Oklahoma State team is, obviously super, super loaded. They don't play each other until late November. So after this game, what do they have? They have like 2 weeks between them and the championship, or 3 weeks between them and the Big 12 championship. I think it's 2. Time.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's enough time in any case, no matter how long it is. It could be 4 weeks. It could be a month. And I don't think that Oklahoma has time to recover from this. I think the first game is going to be tight. I think that Oklahoma State, it's a rivalry game, first of all. It's not like we're talking, we're not talking about TCU and West Virginia. We're not talking about just 2 random Big 12 teams. We're talking about 2 Big 12 teams from the same state, fighting for the same fan base almost. Look, I'll put it this way. Imagine if Alabama and Auburn, if they were in different divisions, came to the SEC championship game. Do you think the winner of the first game in a good year could beat the winner, could beat that team again in the second game? I just don't see a way. It's the thing that LSU and Alabama did in 2011 when LSU won the regular season, then Alabama smacked them in the national championship game. It's so hard to beat the same team twice. That's why I had Cincinnati winning the AAC last year, because Memphis beat them the previous week. I'm a firm believer that you can't beat the same team twice in a season, and I'll stick to my guns on that until the day I die.
Wow. Okay. Well, here we are. I have Oklahoma State winning it twice. I trust that, when you have a strong run game, you have the talent and the explosion that Oklahoma State has. There's a lot of unknown factor with Oklahoma. I think, Lincoln Riley's been one of the best young coaches in college football, but I think it's Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State's time this year. And I got Go Pokes all the way to the Big 12 championship, but I cannot believe you picked Oklahoma State. I'm still shocked about that, but guys, that is a wrap on this episode. 2 segments, still over an hour of content for you guys to get y'all through the weekend, preview all the biggest games. We'll be back Monday, Pick 6 recap with an SEC preview. I know you've all been waiting for it. It's coming. It's about time. Brandon's going to have LSU winning it all. We already know. But until Monday, guys, go check us out on social media. It is at the _Bluebloods on Instagram, at the __ Bluebloods on Twitter, at the Bluebloods Pod on Facebook. TheBluebloodsPod.com is our website. Go check it out. Articles, episodes, links to everywhere, all can be found on there. Find us on YouTube, the Blue Bloods CFB podcast. All our interviews and old episodes are on there. But until then, guys, we out.